Okay, hey guys, Bert here, Sunova Surfboards, coming to you fresh out of the water, still in my wet boardies. Okay, today got something I'm pretty stoked with. Got a new model. It's called the Midlife Crisis, the MLC. Where this board came from. Okay, so I had a customer in California, friend, super regular, ordered lots of boards, Ry Eden, and he sort of was surfing the Californian point breaks. I mean, he surfs longboards, shortboards, everything in between. So, probably 20 years ago, he got an 8-ball off me, and then after that, we refined it and we shortened it. And then eventually he sort of got this mid-length that he's been working on. And it's pretty unique, but it works really well. He loves it, claims it goes awesome in Californian waves. But it's interesting because I went down a completely different path as opposed to how most people set up mid-lengths. So someone sent me a video recently, and it was one by Devon Howard, and he was discussing how he felt that a mid-length should be set up a little flatter. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. I mean, if you're coming from a longboard and you're getting on a shorter board, if you ride a bit too much rocker, it feels a bit foreign, you know. You have fore aft issues and so on. So look, if you're a regular longboard, you want to come down and you want to ride something shorter, I agree with running a flatter rocker. But if you're a short boarder and you want to step up to a mid-length, you're used to something that fits in the pocket better, you're used to something that surfs tighter. So this particular board, what I had in mind was to basically say, all right, you're going to get a good performance shortboarder, he's getting a little older, he still wants to rip, still wants to surf hard, but he just wants to be able to catch waves better. So anyway, the setup with this board, we'll go through the list, right? So with the rocker, what we've done is it's got curve. I mean, you can see it there. And I'm going to say it's not a flat rocker, right? I'm going to call it a mid rocker. Not really banana-y, not really super flat. And the idea is that it just got to have more performance in it. So I actually stole this rocker from a banana longboard. And the fact that this longboard had so much rocker in, you could easily go vertical on this longboard. And so, well, okay, run the rocker in this, you know it's going to be able to go vertical. So no problem there. So the rocker, it's still flat enough to carry, rocket enough to really fit in. Now with the outline, it's interesting. There was a really popular model, still could be popular now, I'm not sure if it's still available. It was the Merrick Flyer, kind of like a high performance shortboard. It was really the epitome of just a good performance board for a long time. So I'm just going to grab another board behind me, all right, and place it on top. So this is a performance shorty, 6'2", a little bit narrower, but when you have a look at what I'm trying to achieve here, as far as just placing one board on the other, and you can basically, coming in from this angle, you'll see that the back end of this 6'2" is basically identical to the back end of this 7'4" mid-length. Ooh, sorry about that. Okay, so what you've got is you've got the back end of a super high performance board. And then you'll notice here, there is a little bit more of a defined bump in it, or a little bit of a flyer. So it actually does have looks like the back end of the Merrick Flyer. And then the front end, we've just stretched that outline forward so that it just carries a bit more width into the nose, and that's your paddle power. All right, so with the rails, this board is super refined. And so if I look at, say, something like the Evolve, which we typically sell as a mid-length, and I mean that board is really set up how Devon recommended, with the flatter rocker, and it's got a bit more beef in the rail and so on. Whereas this board here, it's really refined. I mean, it's 2 3/4. This board's 22 inches wide, but when I pick it up and when I put it under my arm and I see how nice and refined that rail is, it's really like melt in your hands, this board here, as far as the way the rails are set up. So what that means is you're not fighting the board at all. Everything about it is set up for sensitivity and what I'd call looseness. So, okay, now the other thing is, so while originally what I had in mind with this board was that you'd come off a shortboard up to a mid-length and the rocker and performance outline and pulled down rail and the way that it's really nice and refined in the tail and everything about it is just surfability and sensitivity. Yeah, it's bigger, it's longer, so it'll tone it down a little bit. Now it's really interesting. So, okay, you're gonna have the older guy who surfed all his life, he's gonna look at that and go, yeah, that's gonna work for me. The other interesting thing is that there's a few crew that ride the Evolve and that's really helped them as far as they're like entry-level adults and they've got better and they've developed their style and you can see they want to, you know, like go on to something next. What's next? And I'm like, oh, performance shortboard? No, you're not quite ready yet. And then this board appeared in the racks and a bunch of crew have come in and picked it up and gone, oh, how nice does that feel? So, look, I'm going to say there's two basic demographics for this board. You're going to have the older guy who still wants to perform and everything in this board is about performance. And then you've got, say, like an entry-level adult who's getting better and maybe they're on a flatter mid-length now and this is kind of like the next step maybe before you jump on a performance shorty. So there's a few different demographics there. Okay, all right, well that's a bit of a rundown on the midlife crisis. Like I said, nice and rocket. It's going to fit into the pocket, fit into the bowl, full-on performance back end. Little bit of extra nose area to help carry in, super refined, high performance rails. And that's it, your demographic. I think, yeah, you've got a range of people it's going to suit. So from sort of, say, progressive surfers, older surfers who maybe started late, your typical older surfer. I mean, I got a couple of guys now, exactly my age, late 50s, and they're looking at this going, yeah, you know, because they're still on shortboards and they want a little bit of help. So, yep, that's it. The MLC, you're going to love it.